It is Wednesday evening. It is time for another Auburn family night. There are many things to discuss. I know many of you are here to discuss a certain flip and commitment that's on tap tonight, and everything that you want to talk about in the Auburn family experience. Your calls, your questions, and your comments coming up right now. War Eagle Auburn family, War Eagle E2C Network family, thank you so much for joining us, whether you're watching live, whether you're watching on the replay. We appreciate you being here, hanging out with us, spending some time being part of our little family within the Auburn family. And it's going to be a fun one tonight, I am sure, because there are a lot of people excited and jazzed up about some most recent news. We're going to get into whatever you want to discuss tonight. Obviously, brand new commitment to the Auburn Tigers and flip. Demarcus Riddick, Auburn battled Georgia, battled Alabama, came out swinging and won. So we can discuss that. Plenty of other things. Football is just around the corner. SEC Media Days is not in the too far past. War Ready has ended their season. There are plenty of topics that you may want to discuss tonight, and you get to choose the course in which we take. A couple things I'd love for you to do as we get started. I already see a great crowd assembling. I'd love for you to start off every show, as we always try to do. If you think we earned your like for this video, smash that like button on Facebook, on here on YouTube, home base of YouTube, wherever you're watching this. Please, if you could do that. But the biggest thing, we'd love to know that you're here. So post where you're watching from, your city, state, international, down in the chat below right now. Even if it's on the replay, let us know where you are checking in from with a War Eagle, because we want to hang out with you tonight. So I will go ahead and open up the phone lines this evening. For those of you that are watching live, if you're on the replay, you can't access this. I'm sorry. Always brought to you by our friends at All Things Auburn. Check them out at allthingsauburn.net for a great place, not just to stay, but to have a great and complete Auburn experience. So whenever you'd like, you can call in, be on camera or off camera. We're just going to bounce around to different topics that you take us to, that I take us to, that the callers take us to. So good show. I feel like we're going to have tonight. We got Brian checking in already on no, that's on YouTube. Sorry, I got that one a little bit mixed up. Kevin's here. Good to see you, buddy. Josh Quattlebaum checking in. War Eagle. Now we have a good chance. Now I hope we have a good chance with Perry. Maybe so. We'll talk a little bit about that. Jordan Stallions checking in and saying that recruiting is fun again. Well, it's been fun since Hugh Freeze got here, but it is certainly very fun now. Michael Floyd, Mr. Superfan, already checking in. Good to see you over there on the Facebook side of things. So you guys hold down the fort in whichever respective place that you're watching that by smashing the like button, inviting people in. Let's get a good crowd tonight, because I know that the energy is hot for all of us in the Auburn family right now. And football hasn't even started yet. This is just the beginning of talking season, and this is how we feel. Good times. Good times. Take it in while you can, because if you know anything about the Auburn experience, you know that it will be quite an adventure for the rest of our lives. Mr. Beautiful says The Chronicles of Riddick. Those of you that don't know, that's a movie. That's a good play off words. Well played. Well played. So I think we would have to start there, right? Please, if you have not, when you're done with this stream, go check out our video that we put out today. Went live as soon as the commitment went live, kind of breaking down every little thing that you need to know and what it means for Auburn football, the commitment of Demarcus Riddick. We're going to talk about it, obviously. I'm not going to just say go there, but we give you some detailed bullet points that are, I think, very helpful. People usually find it pretty useful. So check that out if you haven't done so. It's here on the YouTube side of things. You can find links on Facebook and other social media, but yeah, that's where you'll find it. Kevin says, was this Freeze's loud cannon shot to remind the other SEC coaches that he is back? That's a very interesting bit of imagery that you're using there. It's definitely a signal for a lot of things. It's hard to think of the last time that Auburn went toe-to-toe with Georgia and Alabama in the recruiting game and won. Now, when I say toe-to-toe, what does that mean? I'm talking about, yes, the kid was committed to Georgia, but there wouldn't have been this conversation around it if everybody knew that he was waning on Georgia. But Georgia still could have made a move to keep him. Alabama tried to make a move. They made some other moves in terms of scaring people away and how you respond on social media. Always keep that in mind, folks. These kids, these families, watch what you say, watch what you do. Be very, very careful. But the last time that's happened, I'm not sure. Now, look, we flipped. Oh, wow. I'm blanking his name at the linebacker position, too. Robert Woodyard from Alabama last year. That was a big get. A huge kind of Savo, I think it's called Savo from Hugh Freeze in the early stages. But as most Alabama fans will probably tell you, and as they're saying now with this one, we didn't want him anyway. You know, all those typical things that go out. But yes, definitely this is his reminder, in a sense, to the SEC. I'm here. Now, look, we're sitting here celebrating this right now. There has been no signature put down on a dotted line. Things have changed before. They could change again. We've seen that happen several times. I will remind you of Reuben Foster. That and Cyrus Quandro were the ones that did me in. When you have a kid commit to Auburn on national television, his parents get to him behind a closed door and make him or convince him to sign elsewhere. That was not a good time. That was the day I decided that I was not going to be as invested into recruiting. Obviously, I have to be for my job, and I enjoy aspects of it, but can get a little toxic at times. Corey Benson, good to see you, sir. Thanks for checking in with us. So Hugh has gone toe-to-toe with several people. Florida State with the Keldrick Falk thing. I think in the video, I equated this pickup to that one, saying it's the biggest one since that. A lot of people thought that Keldrick Falk would all along go to Auburn, but still, when you commit somewhere else, you've got to do convincing to make that switch. And he was able to do that after what Auburn was going through at that time. Jordan says, huge right before Big Cat. 5 stars want to play with other 5 stars. Now, I'm going, listen, if you can't take me here in this, I'm not talking about you, Jordan, but just in general, go ahead and cover your ears up. Stars don't matter in the grand scheme of things. Do they mean something? Absolutely they do. Is there data and efforts put behind this that a lot of the times correlates? Absolutely. I don't care how many stars they come in with, frankly. I care how many stars they leave with. That's what really matters. But what the importance behind, don't lose sight of what's important here. It's not the stars that are coming in with that. It is what it means in terms of Auburn being able to compete on the perception stage with the big dogs and elephants. Auburn went to bat, and Auburn swung for the fences. And as of right now, Auburn won. And that should not be lost sight of in this thing. So Big Cat Weekend is coming up. Obviously, it's going to be tricky this week for you guys. For those of you that are consumers of a lot of our content, or at least follow the Auburn Experience podcast, which is our flagship show here. We do it every Sunday night at 9 Eastern time live. If you want to watch that on a recording, you can too. And obviously listening on the podcast version of that too. We will be discussing Big Cat, but my gut and my feeling is even that late into Sunday evening when we discuss that, there's still going to be things rolling out from that we won't be able to necessarily kind of encapsulate and capture. So most of it we will, but not a lot of it will be like solidified. The other big thing that I want to stress for people from Big Cat Weekend is if your favorite player that you're just convinced is going to commit doesn't commit or flip or whatever, don't panic. Doesn't mean it was a failure in any sense. A lot of the times, this is where those relationships not only are built, if they haven't already been built, but strengthened to the point where it's much easier for these commits to make a decision when they're not around the fun and games of being part of the Auburn program on a commit weekend and things like that. So it's easy to commit when you're around it all and stuff like that. But if you're still not convinced and you walk away, but then you'll think back to, man, that was great to be around all those other guys, 5 stars, as you brought up earlier, if that's what's important to them, the vibe, the feel of what's going on at Auburn. Auburn sells itself regardless. And when you show a little bit of success, a little bit of competency, it's amazing what can happen out in the plains. So today is a big day. Do not lose sight of that, whether you're just celebrating because of the stars, the story behind the commit, or whatever else. If you're just a friend and family member or just close connection to that commitment, big day. Demarcus Riddick is an Auburn Tiger. We're not done talking about it, but just wanted to kind of put a little bow on that at the moment. So keep your comments and questions coming. Would love to hear from some of y'all. The phone line is open. When you hit that link in the top of the chat, it should take you right over here to a waiting room. You will have the choice to be on camera or off camera. You can just have your voice like a phone call. It'll just have your name next to your little voice icon if you're not comfortable being on camera. I know it can be a little bit intimidating from time to time. We've had 5 stars before that weren't good. Now those 3s Tubby used to bring in, that was something. It was. And that's my best example that I can give. That's not best example. One of the strongest arguments I can give against the whole 5 stars or best argument is the Tubbs situation. Now that's a different time, different era. So that is, as time goes on, it's less and less of a good argument, but it's still relevant. The other thing is every time you see the Super Bowl come around or the playoffs come around, how many of these athletes are making it to the Super Bowl who were 3 stars? And while that kind of seems to help my argument too, it also, if you want to just kind of play the opposite side of that, the sheer numbers of 3 stars alone kind of dictates that there will be more of them out there that were undervalued, underevaluated. To me, it seems like we need to be better about evaluating kids if they are 2 stars and 1 stars and all that. It's because they really don't go below that. Anyway, enough star talk for right now. Y'all have gotten me on stars when I would rather not be discussing them, but it is what it is. What do you guys think about Demarcus Riddick? Will you think he will be starting? Do you think he will be playing significantly? When I say significantly, past the 4 games that he is allotted for a red shirt. What do you all think? What does this situation feel like? If you watch our video, we kind of lay out in that particular breakdown the roster currently, what it might look like when we get to that point. And look, a lot of times when we do those videos, people forget this is a conversation about what is current, what we know currently. Everything changes, right? Sometimes we do these videos and the kid decommits or flips on us and all that kind of stuff. But yeah. Mr. Beautiful says the Bama boards are upset. What I was saying earlier about some people are happy about the star, some people are happy about the story, or maybe they just know the guy personally. Others are just happy to see the Bama tears roll. I think all are valid. Yeah, I think honestly, it's not the tears that are the juiciest to me. It's watching the social media keyboard warriors from Bama trying to act like this doesn't bother them. If it didn't bother you, you wouldn't post about it. You don't post about things you don't care about. Just being honest. Devin, what's up? Are you live from the kitchen? Let us know. Starter day 1, you say. I don't know. Maybe. It really depends on what happens this year. There's a large crop of juniors here at Auburn currently that I could see a handful of them deciding to go elsewhere, leave early if they were to play and have a good year and want to just try their hand in the draft or something. But there's a large crop there that they have to outcompete. And there's 3 of these guys coming in too at linebacker position. Now all are going to play different positions. Demarcus Riddick seems to be an outside linebacker right now. We'll see what happens when he gets on campus. But I won't count him out. He seems to be a very prominent talent by all accounts. So you never know, but it's just not, I have to be convinced you are going to be a starter day 1. A lot of times, mainly it has very little to do with the player than what he's got to overcome in terms of depth ahead of him. And there's not a lot at linebacker, but there's enough. Don't dismiss the players that are currently here. Who's this guy? Freeze is trying to flip from Georgia. Oh, we got people lining up here to talk. So let me go ahead and do that. I'm not sure. We'll come back to that, Corey. So keep y'all's comments and questions coming. We'll get back to some of those in a little bit. But let's get our first caller on the line. We've talked to him a lot lately. Love hearing the super fan that is Michael Floyd. What's going on, sir?
As always, I have to make sure you can hear me clearly because sometimes that Bruton service is a little wacky.
Loud and clear, my friend. Loud and clear. What is on your mind tonight?
Well, first of all, I said it. I said this like at the end of last year, so like December of 2022, and I said there is no greater time to be an Auburn Tiger than it is right now. And here's why I say that. Um, just looking at what Coach Freeze and staff has accomplished so far on the recruiting trail, and also we have a season looming. If they can, you know, succeed and even surpass many people's preseason projections, that's another, good thing in the right direction. Like I've always said about the alignment between President Roberts and AD Cohen. You look at what basketball is doing. You look at what volleyball is doing. Soccer is doing. Softball is doing. Even baseball is getting a new facility. Everything is just lining up perfectly for the Auburn family. And I stress this to people all the time. What's going on in the Big Three is good, but if you look at Auburn as a whole, Auburn is really trending in the right direction.
Oh, absolutely. It makes the hires much high when everything's going in the right direction and we don't
Exactly.
have something, I don't want to say dragging us down, but lagging behind maybe is a better way to phrase it. So there's a lot of programs that are, I want to say like fresh starts, but some are kind of getting into those fresh starts they already had or having new things
Right.
happen for them. So yes, I agree with you. You got the momentum that they built within themselves as programs, but then when you couple on top of this your marquee program of football, and you start doing things like this without even playing a snap, woo, that's a good feeling.
Yes,
That's a real
exactly.
good feeling.
And today was huge, especially going into Big Cat Weekend. And who knows how many people will either silently commit or commit on the spot or commit shortly after they leave. I'm really excited to see how all of this folds up because you have some really good talent coming in this weekend, and some of these guys are being heavily pursued by the Alabamas, the Georgias, the Miamis, the Nebraskas, the Oklahomas. All those schools that we have to play soon in
Yep.
conference, out of conference, and it'll be really interesting to see how uh, the first Big Cat weekend under Coach Freeze goes. And I see people all the time. People are going to make jokes about everything. And I see a lot of jokes today about what in the world was Coach Harsin doing. I still don't know the answer to that question. But if you look at what has happened from December, early December when Coach Freeze got hired to now here at almost at the end of July, 8 months, a lot has transpired, and recruiting, capping off last year's recruiting class and then going to the future's recruiting class, everything is looking like it's just going to be really good. Obviously, you can have all the best 5 stars in the world and can't get together on the field. We saw that happen last year with
Right.
Texas A&M. So I'm eager to see how, especially this year with the class you're bringing in, plus the transfer portal class, how you're able to mesh everybody together and see how everything blends and goes. But September 2nd can't get here fast enough.
And this is only adding to it. I mean, on top of having SEC media days last week and all that gets stirred up and going, just amongst SEC fans in general, but of course for our purposes, Auburn stuff. And then you add this on top of it, this just being a precursor to SEC, well, not SEC, but Big Cat Weekend. Oh boy, there's just a lot to feel good
Yes.
about right now. So we're going to be on this high. And then when it kind of settles down until football practice starts really getting going, we're all going to be kind of bored, I mean,
Right.
we're going to hit that
Exactly.
lull again and be like, oh man, I need a little shot to the arm, so to speak. I need a
Ex- exactly. And I'm just eager to see what's next, who's next. Um, I think Saturday I might have to keep my phone on a charger because I'm going to be on my phone all day Saturday and Sunday to see, okay, what's going on, who's going to commit, what's going to happen.
Mhm.
Um, But so that's really good for football. And then my last thing I want to talk about, the volleyball schedule came out
Thank you. Yeah.
today, and super excited to see. I think is this year 3 under Coach Crouch?
Yeah, so
4?
it's weird because Coach Crouch's first year when he arrived had that weird cancellation, and I think it was
Right,
somewhat to do with COVID, but I think there were other things at play there too. So I always
right.
get confused. This would be, I believe, his third full year as like having coached a season, but it may have been like
Okay,
technically 3.5 since they got out and practiced like they were going to play and then didn't end up playing. So we'll call it 3 for our discussion purposes right here.
right. So entering his third year, building off the momentum they had last year in the postseason, pulling that big upset in the first round,
Mm-hmm.
and then, bringing in a couple of good transfers and high schoolers, I believe, and then bringing back the talent from last year. I think this team is going to be good. I'm not saying they're going to go and beat and win the national championship, but this team can really make some noise if they can put everything together. And I'm really excited to see how they do this year, and also soccer's around the corner. See, people forget. People think football is like the kickoff of the Auburn athletics year, but truthfully, it's soccer and volleyball that kicks it off, and then football happens probably 2 weeks after they start, and then it's like, okay, we're going boom, 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 boom,
I
boom,
feel
boom,
like I feel
and
like
it's
you
so much
missed.
fun.
I feel like you missed a joke in there. Kicked off soccer. I mean, come on,
you got,
come on,
you're
Michael.
right.
You got you. Listen. You teed yourself up on that and you whiffed. Like that's all on you, buddy.
But you're right, and it's just so much fun, to getting out there to see soccer, getting over there to
Yes.
see volleyball.
Yeah.
Um, like on some weeks, I can recall just going to a volleyball match on a Thursday or a Friday, and then going to a soccer game on a Thursday or Friday. So like you have something Thursday, Friday, then Saturday you'll have a big game, you know, against UMass or somebody, and those are fun. And I tell people all the time, when you come to Auburn, you should experience a volleyball game, you should experience a soccer game, because you might not know what's going on, but you'll 9 times out of 10 you'll sit by somebody who knows what's going on, and
Yep.
that's where you'll be like for example, I'm like, okay, so when should I yell at the ref? When did they do something wrong? Because that's what I like. I like to
You could
yell
just yell
at
at
the
them in
ref.
general. Just yell at them in general.
Exactly.
Listen,
Exactly.
they understand.
So
They get that stuff.
right. So I'm excited. Good day today. And then we're closing in on Big Cat, and then volleyball and soccer is soon to start as well. So
Absolutely.
it's a good time to be an Auburn Tiger, Kyle.
Yes, sir. And thank you for reminding of this as always, Michael. So thanks for calling in.
Yes, sir. War Eagle.
War Eagle. All right, we got our next caller coming up here in just a second. Stand by, sir. Want to give a shout out to Mr. Thomas Manville again. He with the super chat, brought it up during that call, but I want to make sure we give you the thanks publicly that is deserved. You continue to be very generous. We appreciate that very much. So thank you, sir. All right, we'll continue to do this bounce between callers. If you'd like to call in, the line's not too big right now, so you can go ahead and jump in, but we'll go ahead and take our next one, and then we'll get back to some comments and questions when we catch up with all that. This is another familiar face in the show. He's Mr. Optimism. Going to tell us we're going to win the national championship, right, Kevin?
Yeah, we will win the national championship.
That's what I like to hear, sir. Listen, I will never lose faith simply because of you, sir.
How about Demarcus Riddick?
How about him? What you think about him? How hyped are you?
I think he will stay with his commitment.
So commitment to us. You're saying after this flip, he's not flipping again.
Uh-uh.
Oh, that's what I like to hear. Now, listen, it always makes me a little nervous when someone who's already flipped once, it means they might be prone to flip again. But what I see happening, and I can see the narrative building, there's a camaraderie that's being built amongst these position groups. You're seeing it happen with the defensive backs that have already committed. You're starting to see that now with Joseph Phillips apparently shutting down his commitment, D'Angelo Barber being just very on board as a recruiter here, and he even said he wanted Demarcus Riddick here. Now that he's gotten him here, you can see there's a friendship and a bond building there, so it feels like it might stick.
I think we get Perry Thompson too.
You know, I had lost a little bit of faith that that flip was coming, but just because today is so exciting, you know, and now I believe anything, at least for today. So maybe.
I watched his commitment. I had my fingers crossed.
I did too. So I saw all the hats sitting there, and I was like, why do we always do this? We read too much into like the way they put the hats and stuff like that. Did he put Auburn in the center for a reason to like throw us off, or, you know, but sometimes it's just they put the hats up there the way they're up there, and it is what it is. And I mean, technically he put them in alphabetical order because Alabama in Auburn and then Georgia. But hey, listen, we all held our breath, but we got it.
It was his mom's birthday too.
That was pretty cool. I like that he got to do that on her birthday. And I know the commitment was about him, but that kind of makes it extra special that she got to open the present to see what it was. And I'm sure they're going to do more for her birthday than that. But it's a sweet way to kind of honor your mom and put her at the center stage when it's your day.
You just saw me when he said Auburn Tigers.
What was it like?
I was jumping up and down.
I bet you were. I bet you were, because you've been saying for a while that he was going to commit. So chalk one up for good old Kevin.
I can't wait next season, 2024, so I can see him play there.
So he will not. Yes, he would be here on the team in 2024. So, and what we were talking about earlier, before you guys started calling in about when he might play, some people said he might be a starter day one. Somebody else earlier said that he might be start by mid-season next year. So I think you're going to see him. I don't even say I think. I feel like I can 99% say you will see him out on the field in some capacity. Will he get past those 4 games for a red shirt? I don't know, but I feel pretty good that he will.
I think we can get another running back too
So are you talking about for this class or the next class? Because I know there's a big one for the 2025 class. So that might be your next running back commit.
He plays at Tuscaloosa County.
I'm blanking on his name right now, and I think I know who you're talking about. Maybe.
Kevin Rock.
Yeah. That sounds familiar now that you're saying it. I mean, maybe we take another one. If Jarquez gets out here and just balls out and leaves early, that will leave some extra spaces. So you might take somebody in this cycle. But I'm kind of selfishly hoping that Jarquez has just enough good of a year that he can't get exactly what he wants out of the draft and stays around for another year.
Stay for his senior year.
It would be nice. It's very rare to see running backs complete their time, especially if they get the star power where they're in discussions for the NFL draft. Because, I mean, listen, running backs have a short shelf life. And, you know, there's been some discussions even recently about how little they're paid compared to everybody else. But the shelf life is not there for running backs. So you got to go when you can. It's understandable. But, yeah, we'll see. Maybe another one's coming. But I'm happy with who we got right now.
Is it ever between Cam Coleman or?
You know, that one always struck me as a little too good to be true. I don't know that I see that one coming back. There's no reason for me to think. I don't have a reason behind it. It's just a feeling. I think that window, I think him leaving and Perry Thompson getting more interested in Auburn are obviously correlated. Whether Perry flips back to us, I don't know. I just don't see Cam Coleman coming back around. You don't make a decision when you're from the Birmingham area to go somewhere as far away as Texas A&M without a good reason to do so. Like flipping from Georgia to Auburn is basically flipping down the interstate. I mean, it's not that far, but flipping to Texas A&M and flipping to Auburn it's a bit more significant. But anything could happen.
Hey, Demarcus Riddick said, for the last 3-4 years, I will be attending Auburn University, and I want to stay at home.
It was interesting when he said that, because Chilton County Academy would be closest to Birmingham. I mean, kind of.
Yeah.
And it's kind of in between Alabama and Auburn. And I'm like, is it really staying home? I mean, you're coming home to Auburn, the best home that there is. But
Best
anyway,
fans there is.
Absolutely. Absolutely, sir. So, but yeah, so 3 to 4 years with him, because if he has a great 3 first years, it's time to go to the NFL. It is.
Yeah, I can't wait when the season starts. I'll be at the first home game.
I know you keep reminding me of that. So you got to make sure it happens that we get to meet each other at Tiger Walk. Will that happen?
Yeah, Tiger Walk starts at 12:30 that day.
Sounds right. It does. It sounds correct. I'll be honest with you. I have put off looking at the schedule because it just makes me sad that it's taken so long to get there. But
have they announced anything about Fan Day?
Nope. No Fan Day announcements yet. They haven't even announced practice schedule yet. We won't get that until we get the practice schedule, if it's even going to happen. I will tell you this, and I think I can say this without revealing.
The start of the practice.
Say that again.
2nd.
Have they announced that? I didn't know they announced that. I may have missed that announcement, but
August 2nd.
August 2nd.
Is the first day.
There he goes. Thomas even said it earlier, I even forgot about that. So, yeah. So maybe when that happens and they come out and tell us exactly what this schedule is going to look like, we might get an announcement for the fall camp. I was told by someone recently that if you're asking about Fan Day for the autographs, I think that's going to be an On to Victory exclusive from now on, which is not surprising. But that is not a confirmation. That is simply me passing along rumors I'm hearing. So we will see. I've got time for one more question. We got people on the line.
I think Demarcus Johnson and all the wide receivers will be catching passes from Robbie Ashford and the other quarterback.
Which one? Who do you think starts right now, Robbie or Peyton? Peyton
I think Robbie would be on 3. Auburn said that.
Well, there was some confusion with that this week. Apparently Vegas, the betting people had set some odds for Robbie Ashford, but that quickly changed to Peyton Thorne. I talked about this when I was a guest on someone's show, The Voice of College Football, this week. And I said, look, it wouldn't surprise me to see it flip-flop back and forth and actually have a race out of this. But I also am not thinking that that's got a lot of weight behind it this early into fall camp. And that's not a reflection on Robbie or Peyton. But we shall see. Very soon. You're right. Somebody will be slinging it to those wide receivers, and hopefully we have a much more successful time for them coming up. Kevin, buddy, always good to hear from you. Thanks for calling in. Good to see Kevin as always. Thanks for calling in, buddy. We'll take our next caller here in just a second. Let me just run through the comments real quick and make sure there's nothing that we don't need to hit before we get all those in. I think we hit most of those. WT's here. Kenneth checking in on Facebook. Thank you guys so much for being here tonight. We know y'all have a lot of options these days, especially on YouTube, to consume your Auburn content. So we're very thankful that you choose to spend at least even a small amount of time with us. All right. Well, let's keep the good vibes going here. We're going to get our next caller on the line. Another familiar face, Mr. Thomas Manville. Welcome back, sir.
Warrior, y'all. How are y'all this evening?
I'm doing well. Obviously, everybody's doing pretty well after what just transpired a few hours ago.
Yeah. Absolutely.
It's not an offensive lineman, which gets you jazzed up, but it's pretty good.
No, it was a great day to be an Auburn Tiger. I mean, we had a great pickup. I mean, he really is a great pickup for us. That's our second linebacker that's really worth his salt that we've seen, and that's 2 that we've taken from Georgia.
Yep, I know. Isn't that interesting? It's really interesting that all those the dynamics behind where these guys are coming from and who we're taking them from too, as well. To me, the story of this commit is not even the stars. It's not even, did we find a superstar? It's what Auburn accomplished in beating out Alabama and Georgia. I don't want to sit here and toot the horn of moral victories, because this is not a moral victory. We won outright, but that says a lot in a very important aspect of a college football program.
No, it really does. And just to kind of bring this guy into the fold. I mean, about 6'2", 210, 220, really good size for an outside linebacker. I mean, really good size. Owen Papo was a little bit shorter, but he's our first 5-star since we got Owen Papo.
Right.
So that's really a big deal for us.
Yes.
He's got the measurables that we're looking for. He can play in the Ron Roberts defensive system, so to speak. And recruiting wise, it does a lot for us because he has the ability to bring in other guys that we probably were struggling to get. You know, we've got the Walker White, we've got the Joseph Phillips, we've got Demarcus Riddick now. So we're building a foundation that's really, really good for us. And I'm excited about it. The excitement around Auburn football is leaps and bounds above what it was a year, 2 years, 3 years, 4 years ago.
Yep, absolutely. And you just love to see that this momentum is building even before Big Cat gets here this weekend. And what could potentially happen there? We don't know. We don't know what is going to come of it. If anything, like talking about commitments and things like that. But if this is a precursor to the good things that could happen, oh, buddy, I will tell. I meant to say this earlier. I forget who said it to attribute it to, who like blocked off their calendar for this week. It was Michael who called it first. I actually made a call to not travel this weekend simply because I got the feeling that Big Cat was going to be something I need to be focused in on. And not that it's never not. But I said to the parties involved, I was going to be traveling to see. I said, fortunately, duty calls, work calls, you know.
Well, and there can be a domino effect, with recruits signing and committing. And I think we've got a really good foundation to help those dominoes go forward. I mean, I'm just so excited about what Hugh Freeze and his staff are doing right now at Auburn. Yeah. I mean, it's really, really great. It's something that we haven't had in a long, long time.
Let me ask you a question. Did you think, and for context, this is, if my numbers were correct, the 7th defensive commit in a row for the 2024 class. Did you ever think that we would be saying with 12 total commitments, 7 in a row the last 7 have been defensive commits, that we'd be saying that about Hugh Freeze?
Not right off the bat. I really thought it would be offenses, seeing the kind of coach that he is, but it's refreshing to see that he's building a squad, a team.
Yeah.
And that's something that we haven't done in a while. We would be real heavy on one side, and then a year later would be real heavy on the other side, almost like we were cycling players through without development. But now it seems we're bringing in the right type of people to play in a particular system, and it's refreshing. It really is. I watched Dusty's podcast earlier, and they referenced Pat Dye and the way that it changed over when he got here, and they started building the program. And it is reminiscent. It really is. But in today's day and age of college football and how tough it is to get folks there or get kids there, really, and the rate that they're doing it and the work that they're putting in the transfer portal is unreal. We haven't seen this in a long time.
Yes. Yeah. It does feel different. It looks different. So if it quacks like a duck, it's probably a duck. It means something's different. It's clearly being done better. We'll know if that better translates to stuff on the field in the coming years. And even Coach Freeze said at SEC Media Days, I hope that people will reserve judgment until we get in that 24 class, that 25 class, that 26 class. And that doesn't mean just we sign them and we get all happy about where we're ranked and stuff, but what are these guys doing on the field? So this is the first part of the battle. Make the connections, convince these kids this is where you want to be, even over Georgia and Alabama, and then actually prove it to them that it was worthwhile for them, but also give them something by helping them reach that next level, giving them a great education, and obviously proving to a lot of these other commits later on, hey, it's not just talk. It's not just them saying these buzzwords of Auburn family. It feels different. It actually is real, and there's good dividends coming out of it as well. So this feels like a special day.
It does. And as Auburn fans, what we have to realize is we are in the rebuilding stage. We did great in the transfer portal. We're doing really good in recruiting so far. And yes, WT, I did get me an Auburn Cup. Don't worry, it ain't going nowhere, brother. But we've done really well in the early stages of building a program. We brought in receivers, linebackers, defensive backs, offensive linemen. We brought in pieces that we need to set a foundation where we can be successful in the next 3 to 4 years. I mean, I don't expect us to win the Natty in the next 2 years, but with the way this is trending, and let me stress trending, if this keeps on this particular trajectory, I think we can be in the playoff in the next 3 to 4 years, and we can do well. We can excel at that. But it depends on how everything else is going. It really does.
Mm-hmm. And I like the way you phrase that, because I think it's important for Auburn fans to temper expectations, right? And be pleasantly surprised by what maybe you underestimated. A lot of the times we see the 5 starts coming. It's like, oh, we got this national championship on the way the next season or within 2 years. If that was the case, Texas A&M would have been undefeated last year, and and everything would be hunky dory over there, and it's not. So this is the beginning. This is what we thought Hugh Freeze could do. This is, what's the coach from the NFL say? They are who we thought they were. It's time for Auburn to actually cause people to say they are who we thought they were. They are Auburn. They are more than just a saying. They are more than just a punchline. When they get things going aligned in the right direction, woo, buddy, look out. It is not good for everybody else in the SEC.
Right. We have to understand as Auburn fans, this is going to be a process. It's going to take time, and we have to, 8-4 exceeds my expectations this year. But the next year, I'd like to see 9 wins, and maybe the year after that, 10 wins. And then the opportunity to go to the playoff and elevate Auburn. But it takes the right people coming into Auburn to play football. It takes the right coaching staff, and it takes time. And we're Auburn fans. We're really not that patient. I mean, that's part of it. But it does take time, and we're in a position where if we give this coaching staff time, we're not in a bad spot. We're in the midst to take recruits away from LSU, Georgia, Alabama, Texas A&M. We're showing that already. And if we can continue on that trajectory and get up there, then there's no reason that we can't sit in the top 3 of the SEC year in and year out with Coach Hugh Freeze.
Yeah.
That's just a part of it. But we're not going to do it in the first year. We're not going to do it in the second year. We have to be patient. We have to believe in this. We have to keep putting into Auburn. And we have to be real Auburn fans. And we have to be realistic about all this. Mm-hmm. But we're in a great spot right now. We're not there yet, but we're well on our way, more so than we have been in the past, 5, 10 years.
Yep. No, I agree. And if I could tie a bow on what you're saying there, maybe summarize, nutshell everything. You're saying celebrate what this is, but understand the context and then celebrate it some more, as long as you're understanding the context of where we are and where we're heading. And right now, promises have been made about what was going to happen under Hugh Freeze, and so far, promises kept. So I like where we're at. So maybe to wrap up our conversation, if you had to, I'm going to take the easy one away from you, sir. I'm going to take the easy one. If you had to pick one next commit that wasn't a flip of Perry Thompson, who might it be? And I say easy because that's just the obvious big name out there. Not that he's a surefire going to flip. I'm just,
Yeah.
Or how about this? If you can't name a name or don't want to name a name, just a position. Other than wide receiver. Offensive line. I keep hoping that kid from, I forget where he's from, but that went to Nebraska. I guess is he from Hawaii? But anyway, he went to Nebraska, or he committed to Nebraska. That's going to change his mind and come back. I even talked to a Nebraska person last night, and I was like, I need y'all to decide y'all don't want this kid. We need him over here. We need him to get the offensive line going for us. So I shouldn't be shocked that you would pick that position.
Well, I know we brought in Xavier Miller this year.
Yep.
I don't think he's going to be a starter, but I think that he will be a starter next year alongside Connor Liu and some other guys that we're working on bringing in.
Yep.
So if we can build a foundation this year and then elevate that foundation in the next season or two, I think that's going to bring in the lineman commits that we need. But we also need more defensive lineman commits as well.
True. It'll be interesting to see how quickly we fill maybe 2 or 3 more defensive lineman positions and how quickly that happens in relation to some offensive positions, kind of like we were talking about. But there's just been a stretch of defensive guys of late. But hey, man, it is always great to talk to you about these things. I had a feeling I was going to hear from you tonight, so it's good to see your smiling face and hear your perspectives.
Well, I apologize for being away for so many weeks, but with band stuff and
no apologies necessary.
Life changes and new living situation, things happen.
No apologies necessary. Just always happy to see you here, buddy. So I'm sure we'll be talking a lot lately. So until next time.
Yes, sir. Hey, fall camp, August 2nd. That's when we really got to focus.
Yes, sir. Absolutely. All right. War Eagle.
War Eagle.
All right. Great calls so far tonight, folks. I had no doubts that you guys were going to be fired up, wanting to discuss some things. Good stuff all the way around. 3 great callers so far. If you'd like to call, you saw a couple of examples there where one was not on camera. So I know it's intimidating. So you can be off camera and just be your voice, or you can be on camera like the last 2. Anything's up for grabs here. Anything that you want to discuss, we'll go back and look at some of the commentary that we weren't able to address. That wasn't like needed for when we were talking to callers there, and just kind of keep rolling with this tonight. Typically we stay on for about an hour. If we're having good conversation, we might hang around for a little bit longer. We shall see. I'll bring this conversation you guys were having up while we were discussing some commit stuff with them. Devin was talking about, or actually someone else brought it up. Let me see if I can find it. Conversation around Bo Nix. And I don't want this to turn into, Bo versus Bo thing. I know that's not what was meant here, but where did it go? I think the comment was made. Oh, there it is. I wish we had number 10 on the Ducks. No offense to Bo Nix, but I think he needed to move on, and so did Auburn. Wish him success. It was the right move for him to leave. And then obviously some agreements there. I agree with the notion that given the circumstances at the time, the right thing to do for Bo and for Auburn was to move on. It was only going to get worse for him in terms of support around him, fans, but also on the field support, as we now know. But it was also, going to be better for Auburn mentally, I think, to not have a scapegoat anymore. Because once Gus was gone, people couldn't blame that anymore, and so they needed another one. So Bo was still there, and obviously once you pull away those other excuses, you kind of understand there's a bigger problem than just one person. But either way, he's having great success over there, and I hope that he continues to do so. I'm rooting for him until it affects Auburn. Corey says, I think Harsin burned a bridge at Phoenix City High School. It's going to take a while getting back in the good graces with that school. I guess you're referring to because Cam Coleman's from there, right? And that's Patrick Nix, the head coach there, and Bo's father. Yeah, I think that, and I was thinking about this the other. Let's think about this. Remember when everybody was saying, oh, how bad of Bo and his dad to go in there and demand that he was going to be the starter? That was allegedly. I don't believe in any sense of the word that happened. Interesting. Now everybody was defending Harsin for, standing up to them, when in fact maybe it should have been the other way, even though that's not a true story. There's the degree of truth with that alleged story is so minor. It's not even like, I don't even have to know the facts behind it. There was not much truth behind that. Devontae, where you been, buddy? We've been talking about Demarcus Riddick all stream. We are pumped. We are excited. Obviously, it's a good day to be an Auburn Tiger. Very happy to have him. He's very much anticipated, and I think he will feel the love from the Auburn, and is feeling the Auburn love right now, and will continue to do so. Big Simp in the house. Been watching some old Tuberville teams and games. That'll put you in the good feels right there. We had some studs. I miss them days. We are on the way back. Love Caddy and Ronnie and many more to name, but Kenny Irons was a beast. So it's a good topic. Let me discuss this for a minute, Big Sim. When I've always been an Auburn fan, but you reach that point in your adolescence where you actually like dive into something and it becomes more than just saying, because my family raised me to be an Auburn fan, I'm an Auburn fan, that you actually appreciate it and understand what's going on, the dynamics of stuff. That for me was the year 2000 and watching Rudy. And then I knew that Cadillac was coming, Ronnie was coming, and then watching that trajectory. For me, it didn't get any better than that. So when they left, I was like, is this even worth it? And then things like Kenny Irons came around. And so, we could name 1,000 other players that did that. But yet, so to your point that we think about the Ronnies, we think about the Cadillacs, the Campbells, we think about the Carlos Dansbys, Dontarius Thomases. But boy, there were some other great names there too, like a Kenny Irons, who actually I think he works in Atlanta. I think that's the person I know that I don't know him personally, but I know of people that know of. And I think it's Kenny Irons. Anyway, that's neither here nor there. But great perspective to bring up that a lot of the times we forget some of the other studs that were back there. Oh, and yeah, let's not forget Trey Smith. Trey, I think, found that really nice sweet spot from being more than just a fan favorite. So like, think of Will Hastings. Will, if somehow you see this, I'm not taking any shots at you, my friend, but like we all know that Will was a great wide receiver, but he didn't have the build to be like, on the big stage in terms of like NFL and stuff like that. But when he was called upon, he was reliable, and he had this, fan group, I guess, I'm trying to think of the word, around him, and he became kind of a cult favorite for the Auburn family. White Lightning. Trey kind of took that feeling that you kind of garner around somebody because of what he did in that famous Iron Bowl game, and beyond that. I mean, people forget that he picked up the block punt in the Florida game and took it in there. He became more than that. He became a guy that you could really truly rely on in many ways. Special teams, offensively. Yeah. I grew up watching Bo. It's hard to beat a showing of a bruiser like that. And see, so I live in this world where I feel I wasn't blessed to watch Bo in his prime at Auburn, but I also have not been, maybe I don't want to say tainted, but like you're right. You're not going to be able to see anything not through that lens. I can. I watched the replays and it's amazing. But for me, the way you feel about Bo is the way I feel about Cadillac. Nobody has yet, and there's been some close ones, has been yet to run the way Cadillac did in my eyes. Some have come close. I'd put Ronnie close there, obviously. But yeah. So I get what you're saying there. Devonta says, we should have hired Coach Freeze after the Gus Malzahn firing. I'm going to make a big statement here that I fully believe, and I don't want it to be lost in the importance of this statement outside of football. So football is not everything, but the phrase "everything happens for a reason." I can take that much further. God's got a plan for everything. Please don't hear me misconstruing some important things there, but I don't know that I agree with that. Sure, right now it feels like that could have been the right call because of the good things going on, but I don't know that Hugh was at the place he needed to be at that time to come back onto that stage. You say, well, what's the difference in 2 years? A lot can happen in 2 years. I can tell you that personally. A lot of good and a lot of bad. So I do think that I never agreed with the Gus Malzahn firing that year. Probably wouldn't have agreed with the firing in general, but I could have gotten to a place where I was with the Chizik firing, because it's hard to argue. but I didn't agree with the timing of it that year. But I don't think that hiring Hugh would have been the best thing at that moment. Maybe it could have been, maybe not. Trey Smith was Auburn's version of Notre Dame's Rudy. He was more than Rudy, my friend. See, Rudy's my favorite movie of all time. Rudy played one down. That was it. Trey basically put the whole team on his back in one game, in the most important game of the year, and said, come on, boys, we ain't letting this one get away in hostile territory. But I understand what you're saying. Brian says the Florida game is still my favorite game that I attended. I have been so blessed to be able to attend, and I've missed some too, but to attend some of the greatest games of my lifetime, the West Virginia rain game, the Florida game, the kick six. I've been to every, and I will be, barring sickness or some other reason, I will be at every single first game for the new head coach since Gene. I know it's not a long time, but it's significant to me, and more beyond that. So that's a special one among those. Let's talk Rudy Johnson. I'm not telling my age. Hey, I know what you're talking about. Rudy Johnson. That was, so we have these heroes, right? Cadillac's one of mine. And in terms of Auburn, it gets no better than Cadillac and Cody Burns are the ones there for me. But you'll always have those guys that did something that made you fall in love with Auburn. That was Rudy Johnson and that run. And I said, this is amazing. I hate we didn't get him for much longer. Now everybody's just dropping names now. Bo, Caddy, Ronnie, Fullwood, Irons, Artis, Payne, Dyer, Barber. List goes on. Barber could have been so much more if he had just, if he had stayed an extra year. Man, he was on the way to something. Lionel James, don't forget James Brooks. I feel like we're missing a bunch in there. Trey Mason deserves some love in there too. Big Simp says SEC wasn't allowing Freeze back in. Alabama wanted him as soon as he got canned, and they blocked it. Freeze is here at the right time. That has been disputed, Big Simp, by the people that are involved in that situation. But of course, they can say one thing, and actually what happens behind closed doors is a different thing. Yeah, I mean, I don't think it was the right time. I think Hugh has said as much without directly saying that too. Let's see here. Seeing Tebow on the sideline crying was my all-time favorite. Look, I found Chris Leak, who was really the starting quarterback that year. Tebow played a lot, to be super annoying. So it was nice to see them both cry. Devin says, I agreed with the timing of the Gus firing. Doing it in the middle of COVID made it that much harder. You did not agree, it sounds like, to get the new coach to get his footing. They should have given Gus another season. So you didn't agree with that. That's my main discussion around that. Yeah. Devontae says Saturday, September 2nd, 2006. We are getting specific here. Was my first game going to an Auburn football game against Washington State. I was there too. And South Donahue was packed. Jordan Hare was packed that night. Yep. That was a fun night. I will remember Kenny Irons I was sitting in the end zone and he just came running towards us on, I think it was like a 75-yard run or something like that. Maybe it wasn't that big of one, but yeah. Thomas says, got my tickets for November 18th. Let's see. That is New Mexico State, right? Got that right, I think. Yeah. I'll be there. Let's do this thing. Yeah, this is I've contributed to the biggest sale of season tickets in Auburn history. I didn't need to spend that money this year, to be honest with you. Some of y'all understand why soon enough. But I was so afraid there weren't going to be any reasonable tickets left. And I'm happy I made the decision to do it. So get a single ticket if you haven't for whatever game you can. It's going to be a fun year. Damon Duval, kicking pimp. Sounds bad to say, but yes, Damon Duval was a GOAT. Barber should have stayed, but he did develop well in the NFL. Buccaneers left him. So it's hard for me. I said earlier that Peyton Barber should have stayed. I still believe that, but he did have some success in the NFL. And so when you see somebody make that decision that maybe you didn't agree with, and they have some success, you're like, okay, it's kind of evened out. You probably could still make the case he should have stayed, but hey, you know. Yes, that is a tease for upcoming news, which I am not at liberty to say. But yes, that we're going to leave it at that. We might talk about it a little bit in our. I know I keep referencing our booster club meeting. I actually was looking at upcoming dates to do that with you guys. Those of you that I've especially reached out to. Well, we might hit a little bit more at that later on down the line. But yeah, okay. So we've hit a lot of different topics. We're having good conversation. I'll stick around a little bit longer because we're right at the, a little bit past the hour mark right here. What I'd love for you to do, if you haven't, smash the like button if you think we've earned it tonight. I'd also love for you to continue to hit us with conversations that we've already hit. If there's something that you'd like to discuss that we haven't, you'd like to call in, I'll leave the phone line open for a little bit. We're not done yet. Hang around to the end if you can for me. And just want to give you this part of the show that we always have to plug away, just to remind you how you can get involved here. Next, stay at the end of the show because we'll set you up for the Auburn Experience live recording, episode 45. It'll take you directly over there on YouTube. You can go ahead and hit that like button. I know it seems silly to do it, but it's a huge help to us. The notify me bell, go ahead and do it. It helps us out in a huge, huge way. Don't miss that 9 Eastern time this Sunday evening. Subscriber giveaway is getting close to being done as we get to 4,000 subscribers. Still got a little bit of ways to go, but we're getting close. So help us get there by sharing the word about us and subscribing. If you haven't, you can be a channel member here for $1 a month. If you want to get some extra stuff and do a little bit of different things, you can join the Booster Club. We're at patreon.com/E2C Network for $1 a month or higher. And as always, check out the other links in the description for ways that you can help support us. One of those is by supporting Alumni Hall through our link in our description. Did I miss anything? Oh, and go watch the video that we put out today about Demarcus Riddick. So if you guys have other discussions that you would like to have, those that we have and haven't hit, go ahead and do that. Get in line for the phone if you're wanting to take advantage of it. If we don't get anybody in about 5 minutes, maybe a little less, I'll close that part of the show down. But want to hear from you guys tonight. This is your night. I tell you every single week, and I mean this, this is my favorite night of the week for a variety of reasons, and mainly it's because of you guys. Randy Campbell and the Wishbone were the great games to watch. I will be honest with you, WT. I need to be better, be a better student of that era. If I had the time to. I know of this and I know what you're referencing, but like, obviously there are certain segments of Auburn history that are more vivid to me because I personally experienced them mainly than others. And I need to be a better student of that time, for Auburn history. Devontae says, Coach Pearl and Johnny Harris should do a tip-off at Toomer's Corner again. I agree. I get the feeling that the desire and momentum behind that has been lost, unfortunately. What I would like to see happen is it be done on an actual football weekend, because I understand why they typically did it on a non-football weekend. Just the logistics of everything is crazy, but I think you can pull it off in a certain capacity. In fact, if you make it almost a 2-day event where it's more of a pep rally and not necessarily a game at Toomer's Corner, you can do some elements of it. But there's always these weather elements that wreak havoc, logistics elements that wreak havoc with this. And while it is super cool, I think it could be better done over 2 days and actually have like a scrimmage like they did the other 2 years ago, the next day before a football game or something like that. Just a thought. I hope the steam hasn't been lost for that, but I agree with that. I want tip-off at Toomers back. I do. I love it. Glad you enjoyed the video. We always try to, I do think, I personally feel like we've hit kind of a nice, system of how to do those videos. So you guys always let me know what you think, and we try to adjust to what you do or don't like here on the show, or the videos and stuff. I asked this earlier of Thomas. He thinks I took away wide receiver from him. I'm not going to take it away from me. No, he said offensive lineman. It seems like defensive linemen may have a little bit of head of steam behind it. You wonder if Perry Thompson's going to actually pull the surprise flip this week. Maybe this helps that case a little bit. Who knows? But yeah, I will try not to cheat and say wide receiver. I'm going to say defensive lineman. That feels just as likely, maybe. And I'm not even thinking of a specific name, but the way we're going with defensive recruits right now is, it's really exciting. All right, we have another caller real quick, so we'll go ahead and take they'll probably be our last caller tonight. Mr. Brian, what is going on, sir? Thanks for calling in from the Great White North.
The Great White North is pretty hot today, actually.
So it's the Great Warm North today.
Great Warm North, yeah. No, you were just saying, you say it all the time, it's your favorite night. It's my favorite night, too.
Yeah.
Work today. You ever just have one of those days where if it could go wrong, it went wrong?
Oh, man. Today. Well, this is the worst day to have it with all this exciting stuff going on. Or maybe it helped. I don't know.
Literally, I run a sales team. It's, the 20, whatever the month, 26th. We lost power for 5 hours at work. It was a day. And so to come home and hear this good, I literally got so caught up in that I forgot about what was going on today in the world of Auburn, which is rare. So to come home, hear good news, and have E2C to talk about it with, I just wanted to say thanks for doing this. And this was a really good way to end quite a day. So, well,
I'm glad that we could put a smile on your face on what was probably a rough day for you. But it's this is one of those days. It's easy to do this because everybody's excited. As much as I love talking about Auburn stuff, even when times aren't as good, it is a drag sometimes trying to, especially if you try to be a positive person. It's like, I gotta put paint on lipstick on this pig. That's the expression. So,
yeah. Tough times. What are they? I use this line a few times today. I don't know whose it is, but it's tough times don't last. Tough people do. Yeah. You don't care. My team came through and had a good day in the end, but we faced a lot of obstacles, and that's life. But it's just fun that I just love that you do these shows. So thanks for doing it. That's all I'm trying.
So. I appreciate that, sir. So, anything else before you head out?
That's all I got, man. War Eagle.
That's all right. That's good enough. Thanks, Brian. Thanks for calling in tonight. Good. Thanks. All right. Great call to end on. So we'll close down the phone lines. Always love with the good vibes there. All right. Let me look back through the comment section real quick. Make sure we didn't hit anything or miss anything that we want to hit. If you got any last bit stuff here, drop it in now. Running back. The running back we got hardly used. Our running back room was full at the time. Big dude played with Brandon Jacobs. His name, Brandon Jacobs. I think that's who you're thinking of. That team, that running back room. And when I say running back room, I'm including fullback in that. You had Ronnie, Cadillac, Trey Smith, Brandon Jacobs, and Kyle, you had his name. Help me. His last name was Johnson. This is embarrassing. Somebody help Daddy. That's a phrase one of my favorite radio shows uses. Help me out. The fullback, Brandon Johnson. Mean son of a gun. One of the best fullbacks we ever had. Right up there with Prosh and I'm blanking on everybody's names now. Anyway, that was a good crew in the backfield. Right. Oh, you want to do, you're talking about tip off at Toomers Thursday night before the Georgia game with Tiger Talk Show. Well, they always do the Tiger Talk Show before, which I think is a good incorporation. But I don't know that Auburn can handle that. Like the the town can handle the hype behind that. You've got to do it on a game where people are coming regardless, but maybe is not so hyped. I can't remember the schedules completely in my head, but I feel like Mississippi State would be a game after that one. That kind of aligns with right before the season would start for basketball. So maybe. Big Simp says Perry next. Maybe so. We will watch. We need to get receivers from the West Coast. Those boys are like 6'8". Well, we got one from Canada in the transfer portal. Nick Marner, 6'7", 6'6". Yeah, maybe. I don't care. I don't care what their measurables are. Just get them here, develop them. And it seems like we're heading in that right direction. The thing I love about Freeze is that he not only recruits at a high level, but assembles a staff that develops players. And let me add this on top of there too. And this is growth on all of the coaches' part, but understanding the times that we're living in and being involved, not just with the recruits, but with the fans on social media is a good thing too. So good vibes tonight. This is one of those shows that is always easy to do, but that doesn't take away from my enjoyment. Regardless, Big Simp with the shout out and the super chat. Thank you so much, sir. That is not necessary, but always very much appreciated. Help keep the lights on here at E2C Network. But seriously, guys, always a good time here with all of you all and hanging out. And I'm looking forward to maybe some more exciting things this weekend. Hope we'll see you Sunday evening for a recording of the Auburn Experience podcast. And regardless, we'll be back here Wednesday night, as usual, 8 p.m. Eastern time, to talk with you, the Auburn family, on Auburn Family Night. So until we talk to you again, everybody stay safe, and we will talk to you very, very soon. War Eagle.